Hey, Rifters, welcome to the show. Subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend. I'm very excited for this guest. When I started the podcast, I want to say we started the podcast in 2014. So it's been about 12 years now. One of the first people I've always wanted to interview, who's my acting hero. I mean, I know I do stand-up comedy, but I started off as an actor, and maybe I'm still an actor. I don't know. But he's always been an inspiration to me just with my acting and stuff. And he's like my personal hero. And I've worked really hard. Probably the best actor of all time. You look at all his work, how much range he has. You go to Say Anything, you go to Better Off Dead, and then you go to Bullets Over Broadway. Then you go to Money for Nothing, then you go to Being John Malkovich, then Con Air, and then you go to Serendipity, American Sweethearts, Must Love Dogs. Then you go to the horror gene with 1408, The Raven, and then you go to movies that really touch your heartstrings, like Grace is Gone, Martian Child. And then you go to movies where they inspire you of how to just be kind to people, like Love and Mercy, and I'm just super excited. Like, this is a dream come true. When I was with Norm, that was one of the things that when he had his podcast, he was trying to get this guest. And but there's just so many elements, and I'm very excited to have this guest. I tweeted him several times, so I'm very, very excited. This is like a dream come true. So, guys, if you supported the podcast all the way from the beginning, thank you so much. This is the interview of all interviews for me. Subscribe, rate, and review. Follow us. Help us out on Apple Podcasts. That'd be great. And enjoy Reza Rifts with John Cusack. Coming up next.
From Hollywood, California, welcome to Reza Rifts with your host, Keith Reza.
Hey, John.
Hey, I don't know how it looks, but we'll just have to go with it.
Oh, it looks great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you dropping the restraining order for this. This is great.
Against you?
Yeah, because I'm the biggest John Cusack fan. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry it took so long to do it. I know my sister Annie was telling me she did your show.
It's twice, yeah.
Yeah, she said you were a great guy, and I said, yeah, I got to do it. I got to do it. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You passed the Annie Cusack test. So.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I don't know if you like listen to my interviews with her, but I didn't ask any questions about you. Like, I was very professional. You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah. So I wanted to start off because I want to respect your time. I know you only have a half hour, and I wanted to start off with like some questions that, like, I want to stay away from the classics because I think you get asked that a lot. So I kind of want to like go into the deep end on stuff maybe you haven't really heard. Like, I want to kind of be unique a little, you know?
Yeah, but do anything you want. I'm open for anything, brother.
Oh, okay. You're the best. Well, I wanted to start off with the Jack Bull because that film.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, because that film is very unique because you're already a huge movie star, but it's unique because your father wrote the screenplay for it, and it was like the first time you and your father had like a hands down working together type thing. And I wanted to ask, like, because you also produced it, did you have like anxiety, like, oh, I can't really let dad down, or like, how did you deal with that?
No, I didn't have anxiety as much as whenever I start to make a film, there's just certain standards that you want to keep up. Like, you want to get it right. You don't want to rush through anything. You want to respect all the other actors so that they give the best performance. But since I was producing it, and we had a terrific director, John Badham, who passed away, but he made Saturday Night Fever and War Games, and he's a really old pro, so he was a wonderful guy to work with as well. So we had the script, and then we just were real deliberate about going through it and trying to get it right.
Yeah.
And so I guess I was a little bit more invested because I wanted to do my dad proud.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but I felt like we did. And then, one of my favorite stories about that movie was, I've been very lucky to get music from some of my heroes.
Yeah.
So we got Bob Dylan's song, Ring Them Bells, at the end. And so called Bob Dylan's manager, Jeff Rosen, and I said, could we screen the movie for Bob? You know, because Bob knew L.Q. Jones. He worked with him at Peck and Paw days, and I had been lucky enough to meet Bob a few times. And he said, Jeff said, "Oh yeah, Bob screened the film, and you can have it." And I said, "Well, what did he say?" And he said, "I didn't want it to end that way, but I knew that it had to,"
Yeah.
which I thought was the coolest Bob Dylan thing to have to say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
And so I told my dad that, and so yeah, it was a very happy time to share that with my dad.
Yeah. And like I said, like that's one of those projects that like, your entire career you'll have that moment. You know what I mean? Like it's a great memory, so it's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we got all these wonderful actors in it, like L.Q. Jones and Rex Lynn and Jay Sanders. Just really John Goodman. Who's
Yeah.
another actor that I just adore.
Yeah. Kurt
John, Mc,
Fuller.
yeah, John McGinley. So Ned Bellamy. We had it was a wonderful time up there, and I think the set we built up there. Um, After we built it, Deadwood used it right after that.
Yeah. Oh
So
my God.
because they had that tree in the middle of the bar, one of them, one of the places.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
so the set we built lived on too. So that was pretty cool.
that's awesome. Jake Weber told me that when you guys did Pushing 10, you guys used to mess with Kurt Fuller, be like, "Hey, Nick," because he's like talking to Vicky Lewis all the time. You're like, "Hey, Nick Nolte's across the street. He's gonna come talk to you and stuff," you know?
That was a crazy time too.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you about your script writing too, because when you do films, there you kind of change the dialogue for yourself, but then your first script that you wrote, Gross Point Blank, like how many times did you write that with your friends before you thought, okay, this is perfect, let's film it, you know?
I one of the reasons I would, because I sort of rewrote some parts I was in earlier, like I didn't want to do say anything unless I could work on the script. So Cameron and I kind of wrote that part together a little bit.
Yeah,
And so I'd been used to trying to not write or improvise for the sake of improvising, but if a script wasn't working or there was a hole and there wasn't a scene that you could really play right, you kind of know it because it's not working. So I would just sort of preemptively try to flush those out and explore them and work on that. So, and one of the reasons I started to write my own stuff so I didn't have to worry about offending the writer,
oh yeah, yeah,
because I know that um, there's certain directors and filmmakers that really like the film to sound written. Like I think of David Cronenberg, for example. He wants every word as written. Like he wants the was to be a was,
yeah,
but he also has a certain kind of style where it's like this labored, weird, surreal dream world style. So it's a consistent aesthetic and it's cool and that's great. And you can certainly do movies that way, right? With really great directors. But what I know too is that the words written on the page don't really mean much if the actor isn't owning it.
for sure.
And if they're not like, if they don't make it come alive, it doesn't really matter what you think it's like. They have to get it. And so what I like to do is get a script like 70% done and then let the actors finish it.
Oh, nice.
So it's like a lot of comedies are that way. Like when we did Hot Tub Time Machine, we wrote the script but then we kept rewriting and people riff and do their thing. So what I knew is that we had a good script, the structure was good, but then I knew that Dan Aykroyd was going to be in it. I knew
Oh,
Anna,
I love Dan Aykroyd.
and I knew Alan Arkin was going to be in it. My sister Joan was going to be in it, right? Now, these are all very brilliant people, and they have brilliant ideas. So
Yeah,
Alan Arkin wanted to rewrite his scenes. I was like, great. One of the other producers was like, what's going on? I was like, don't worry. That's Alan Arkin. Okay. That's Alan Arkin. It's going to be fine. Just calm down.
yeah,
You know? And so he'd come up with this brilliant stuff. And it was basically, we had a good scene and it was 10,000 times better after Alan got through fleshing it out. Dan Aykroyd is to me, one of the most brilliant comic actors in history. He's
yeah.
just a brilliant guy. And he came in with all sorts of crazy ideas, all this Book of Revelation stuff, and I would say, hey, Dan, we don't have enough, Book of Revelations madness with this guy Grosser. And, he would just come,
Well, Dan has Asperger's syndrome as well. So like he's like a because I have Asperger's, so he's like a comic god to me because like when he was on SNL, he was very shy and stuff, but right when the cameras were rolling, like he just brought it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, he's I didn't know that he shared that Asperger's thing, but I know uh he's so bright and he knows so much about so many topics and intricate stuff. But he would just come on and all of a sudden he would start calling you Pinky and start yelling popcorn, and then um he would just come up with the wildest stuff, and I was just like, shh, and we weren't getting too much pushback because we had wonderful uh, I was really lucky because I some of the movies I got to make was with Joe Roth when he ran a couple studios, and he was, as good as you could get, um,
Yeah.
as far as not interfering or not trying to make something what it wasn't. Like he would have 30 movies that he would make, being a big studio head, and then 7 or 8 of them he would just give to filmmakers he liked. And so I got to make High Fidelity and Gross Point Blank, and I think Wes Anderson got to make Rushmore.
Yeah.
And, so like those were all medium sized ish movies that were totally unmolested by the studio because Joe was such a great guy and he understood things. So I was just very lucky to have a guy like that to get some movies made. But as far as the writing goes, I just wanted to get it ready, pregnant enough where people could come in and do their thing. Because like if we were going to do a movie with me, and
Which is gonna happen. I
let's
mean,
do it,
it's
let's
gonna
do it.
happen.
But if we were doing it, then and there was a part there, I would want you to feel like you're making the part your own. And if the writing's good, you'll stick to it. But if you needed to, you have to get yourself into it.
Yeah.
You would have to make the part yours and really feel like it's, you have ownership over
Oh,
it.
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
So that's what I like to do. That's how I like to do it with the writing.
Yeah. And it's also because like you probably figured this out because you've done a lot of movies and stuff, but like let's take Gross Point Blank since that was your first credited writing thing. Uh you know, music, I think a lot of people don't really understand, but music and soundtrack really help a movie. You know what I mean? Like it makes it flow too. And like how did you realize that? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I think just from the greats, that had done it before, like, you can't really think of the Scorsese films without some of those soundtracks.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really, you can't think of like if you listen to Goodfellas, you can't think of that without hearing that theme song. That da 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 da
Yeah,
da
yeah, definitely.
da da. Right? You can't really, you can't separate those things.
Yeah.
So I always loved a needle, like a great needle drop at the right time. I thought was can make or break a film. And conversely, I thought there were a lot of films that I made where I listened to the score, and it was so sentimental and so sappy that I thought it ruined the movie. Now it didn't ruin the movie for other people, but
Right.
but for me, it was like, oh, it was like, nails on a blackboard.
Right,
You
right,
know,
yeah. Yeah.
like that was one of the things with Better Off Dead, is that it was a surrealist black comedy, teen comedy, and I thought that the score was going to be like weirder and crazier and stuff, and it was just a very traditional, like, hero does this score, and
Right. It wasn't what you envisioned, but
right, but
it
it
still
didn't.
came out good.
Well, yeah, this is my, like, no one knows what I wanted the movie to be, right?
Right.
They're just experiencing what they experience, so I don't think it mattered to anyone else, but for me, it matters a lot. Score can make or break a film, and music makes or breaks a film to me. Like
Yeah.
we couldn't have done Gross Point Blank if we didn't have that sound of the Clash.
Yeah. Or the Cure Violent Femmes. I mean, you had it
Right,
all.
right, yeah, yeah, and we were very lucky because we had a wizard, Joe Roth, and Kathy Nelson, the music supervisor, was just incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Incredibly brilliant at making all those deals and getting that.
Uh
Um,
Joe Roth directed American Sweethearts, and
He
like,
did.
do you remember like when DVDs came out, they'd have like it was kind of like the first version of podcast where like the director and the actor would just talk through the movie, you know?
Yeah.
So I was watching it, and he's talking through the movie, and then the scene of your junkets, he's like, and here's John, he's eating a carrot. And here's John, he's eating a celery. And here's John, he's eating an orange. It was just so funny. He was saying that like every take he would come in with a different type of food just to screw with them, and they left it in the movie.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, he was. That was another good time. You know, when you're making a comedy and the director is the head of the studio. There's kind of like no pressure.
Yeah.
You can just have fun every day. So that
Uh,
was really cool.
yeah. I wanted to talk about the tone because you've done so many different tones of movies, but like mo a couple movies that really hit the heartstrings is Grace and is Gone and Martian Child. Like those movies really connect to me, and I wanted to ask like because I know you produced Grace is Gone, so like when that script came in your hand, like what made you think, okay, hey, I want to help get this made?
Well, I liked the character a lot, and I also was, just this is how it works for me. I'm not saying anyone else should think this way, but I wanted to make films that reflect what's going on in the times I'm living in.
Yeah.
And some movies are kind of like these little pre- pet, toy kind of worlds that directors want to look at and stuff. But that's cool. But I want to sort of represent the times that we're in and what's happening. And for me, the Iraq War was, you know, big deal.
Yeah.
Um, and so I was just, and I think it's just because I think about how many lives it, you know, touched. And so I thought this was a story about people who had to, lose family members, in these wars of choice. So I really liked that. And I also um, I just liked the relationship with the daughters and somebody trying to put off um, facing the truth.
Yeah.
Somebody's trying to, yeah. So I just connected to it, and I thought this would be a good film to make, and so we just made it for like a couple $1 million.
Yeah, it was so great, and I like it because, like you said, because that's such a painful, subject to tell children. You know what I mean? You don't want to, you know what I mean? And I think that's why it was kind of beautiful, and it shows you Dad of the Year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 and he was. It was also a thing where you know the people who get hurt the most are the people who are the most faithful and the true believers in the cause. And so it was a character that I was unlike me, but I really wanted to get into his head and figure out what it would be like to have those beliefs and have them shattered.
Yeah. And then I wanted to move on to like a couple films that I like to call guerrilla filmmaking, which I think they're very, very good, but I call it guerrilla because they're only in like three or four settings, like The Factory and The Bagman and Grand Piano. Like these films are
Hmm.
all great films, but they're only in three or four spots. And I wanted to know, as an actor for you, is that pretty easier to get into the character like that because it's just in one setting?
I'm trying to think. So the factory, you said the factory, Bagman, and what was the third one?
Grand Piano.
Yeah, Grand Piano was a cool one because that was all set in a concert hall with Elijah Wood and me and a terrific director. And so yeah, I do like those contained films where the time is 70 hours or 48 hours.
Yeah,
In a weird way, Identity was another one of those movies. It was just,
yeah,
guys drive into the motel, this rain's coming, and everything happens within 30, 40 hours. 1408 was one like that.
yeah,
You know, he goes into the room, can't get out, right? So I do like the idea of the condensed time frame, probably one or two costumes, one or two looks.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And most of your films, I'm not going to say in all of them, but in most of your films, you're wearing the classic black winter coat. And I was just wondering, like, as an actor, is that something you kind of bring into yourself? Because I think that that's your style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I think probably, if you're doing sort of a character that's um, specific enough that, like I don't think the guy in Grace is Gone would wear a coat like that. But when you're doing
Right.
something where, I don't know, I just went by feel, but it's probably a little lazy too.
Oh my God. And then I wanted to ask you about monologues because, like, in a lot of your films, you have these great monologues. And as an actor, like for me, because I come from stand-up comedy and like I've done a couple movies, but I don't really like I prefer doing stand-up comedy. But monologues I feel are the hardest because they're on the page and you got to get it all immediately in the moment. And I wanted to know, like, as an actor, like, do you have any tricks on how to nail that?
Well, I would say, imagine it's the same as you doing stand up, right? I mean, you're up there talking for 45 minutes to an hour, pretty
Yeah.
much straight, So um, it depends on, I guess, the film and stuff. But I also love those movies, like Philadelphia Story, or the Preston Sturges movies, or those things where people are talking really fast and overlapping each other, and the speed and sound of dialogue is real life, so it's not that labored, slow kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
Like a
so,
Neil Simon type of feel.
yeah, or just even uh, as I said, I think the Philadelphia Story with Cary Grant is the fastest dialogue known in movies, where they're just spitting it out, but the ear gets used to it and you can hear it. You just have to make a choice to talk that way. So everyone would always say to me, "Oh, this stuff is too long. It's too long." And I go, "When I get it up to speed, it'll fly by. It'll be
Yeah,
great."
definitely. But
Uh,
no, I think like that, it's just like, for example, Must Love Dogs. Like I really like Must Love Dogs, and I know like that's one of your films where you're like that's kind of like not on the high end, but that because you've said that, but I like it because
did
it's
I say
like
that?
yeah, yeah. But
In too
it
many
it
interviews.
but I like it because it's the reversal. Like for you in a lot of films, you're chasing the girl and stuff. And Must Love Dogs, she's kind of chasing you. And I think like
Well, that's true.
I kind of think like that's unique and stuff.
Yeah, that was fun because the director was Gary David Ross was a very cool guy, so he was open to coming in, and so we worked on the part
Yeah.
a little bit and tried to have fun with it.
Yeah. I just love it when you're like, "Can I get my meat?" And
Wait,
they
when did I say that?
when the sister is like, "Oh, you have so much meat in the fridge," and then you're with Diane, and then you're like, "Oh, can I get my meat?" Like,
Oh, right.
meat is expensive, John.
Yeah, that was Elizabeth. Yeah, there's lots of fun people in that one.
Yeah. And then like let's talk about when you're an actor when you're playing historic roles, like you've played Richard Nixon, you've played Poe, you've played Brian Wilson, and like these are all roles like even if you didn't meet Wilson, you could like you had the internet, you could Google and you could get a feel for it. But you did a movie called Money for Nothing, which is about a real dude, and back then there wasn't internet and stuff, and I heard like you met Joey for 1 or 2 days, and I wanted to know like how is that to bring that guy to life? Like how do you do that? Because the research on somebody who's real, who wasn't even famous, wasn't in, you know what I mean? Like you couldn't
Yeah,
really,
well, that was there was still enough you could do because that was, I think, in Philadelphia, and we were shooting in Pittsburgh. So I went to Philadelphia and went to where he grew up, and I met him and his wife at the time, and um, just listened to them talk about the whole experience.
yeah,
And so I was able to meet him and get his spirit a little bit. And
yeah.
then for Brian Wilson, I got to meet Brian and his wife Melinda, and they gave me a lot of access and were very generous with me to get to know him and understand him. Um,
You ended up becoming like really good friends with him too.
I think so. I think, or we had a bond that was special because I felt, that I just sort of felt that the two people that I needed to really be happy with that movie were Brian and Melinda, because it was their life, and
Yeah,
it was Brian's. He wanted certain things to be clear in the film, of what it was like, and he didn't want us to pull back any on the mental illness part, because he knew that the stigma of mental illness stops people from getting help, and he really
Mm.
wanted it to be shown as raw and as tough as it was. Um, so that, I felt like I wanted to do him right, and I was just very lucky that they were so generous with me.
When you were playing Brian Wilson, like because you were talking about the mental illness side of like not eating or thinking you're hungry and stuff. Like, did you listen to their music to try and get in that mindset, or even though like you're in the future? Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. Interestingly, Paul Dano played him as a younger man, and in a sense, there was so much known about him when he was public. He was like the Beatles. He was doing albums and tours and Christmas specials, and he was just super public. And then the part of his life after he sort of went into the abyss and had to crawl out of it, that was not very. No one knew what was happening there. It was not public at all. It was the subject of kind of rock and roll lore.
Yeah.
The fall of Brian Wilson, what happened to Brian, all that stuff. And so it was it was important for me to know from him what that was like, and all that stuff. But I knew we were on the right track because Paul and I decided, and the director Bill Polat decided, we wouldn't compare notes with the two Brians. It would just be two separate portraits.
Yeah.
But I talked to Paul, and we both used the Smile Sessions box set, which was not the Smile Sessions that was released in 2012, but the 66
Oh my
thing
gosh.
where it's all those songs and all the recordings, and you can hear the outtakes and all that stuff. It's really a complete genius. And
Wait, was this the one with Charles Manson?
no, no, the
Oh,
Smile Sessions was after he made Pet Sounds and they were at their peak. The Beach Boys went out on tour and he wrote all of Smile. And Paul McCartney came and listened because Paul McCartney was a huge fan.
yeah.
And he heard the album and he was like, "Oh my God, we have to change everything." And he went and then made Sergeant Pepper's. And you can
Okay.
hear Sergeant Pepper's in Smile Sessions.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's like incredible how brilliant that was. So Paul and I both use that as our entries into Brian, because for Paul it was, I think, I wouldn't speak for him, but I could imagine he would thought that was the peak of his genius, and also where he just kind of had to go to bed for 3 years because he made this genius album, and he played it for the band, and they were like, "Well, where are the hits?
Yeah.
Where are the hits?" And he's just like, I'm going to bed." Um, so it was kind of like that. It was the moment. It was the transition between kind of sanity and madness, and almost like where it was his peak creativity, but it was so painful that he couldn't even talk about it for years. He couldn't play the songs for years, and then finally he was able to then rebuild his life and play the music again and own it and all that stuff. So yes, the I listened to the Smile Sessions box set pretty much 24 hours a day.
Oh, nice.
I didn't
Nice.
want to. I didn't want to have any. I wanted to be connected to that the
Yeah.
entire time. So yeah, I just sort of immersed myself in that particular four record set.
Uh, John, you're doing me a favor, and I really want to respect your time, but I have like five more
No, go
questions.
go go. We're
Oh,
good.
oh,
We're good.
oh,
I'm
okay.
good.
Okay. So I have this segment on everyone I interview. You're gonna laugh, but it's called "Searching for John Cusack."
Oh,
Yeah, and because one of like you don't understand, like this has been like my dream to interview you. Like
oh, thank you, brother.
you're my hero. And I toured with Norm Macdonald for 9 years, and then I started touring with Bob Saget. So when we were all together, like they loved you too, and we
They
all
did.
had yeah.
See, I
And
had no idea of that. That's really cool to know.
yeah,
I
and
didn't know Norm Macdonald knew who I was or Bob Saget knew
oh,
who I was.
oh my God, we would go into the rooms and we would watch Serendipity, Must Love Dogs, Factory, Bagman, like all these films.
Wow,
But
that's so
yeah,
cool.
I mean, so but we had this bet. It was like who's the first one who could get Cusack on their show, and Norm's like, I think it's Saget because he's the most famous one. So
I know my friend Paul Hipp, and I know Norman Lear knew Bob Saget really well, and everybody loved that guy.
yeah.
And he was such a he was so loved by his friends.
Yeah. So the point is the segment is called Searching for John Cusack because whenever I interview people who've worked with you, I always ask them, hey, what was it like working with the great John
Uh,
Cusack?
and what did
Yeah.
they say? They say he was an asshole.
No, everyone loves you. Oh
Oh,
my God.
good, good.
I could tell you like one of my favorite stories Michael Madsen told me about Money for Nothing. He's like, "Oh yeah, I got to work with Johnny Cusack and in the moment he was great. Johnny Cusack's the best. Johnny only lets you call him Johnny if you're friends with him." And like he's doing that. And I was like, "Oh, so do you call John Johnny?" He's like, "I call him John."
He was cool. I saw him one of the few times I was out at a awards thing or something, whatever I was had to do. And I saw him and he was like, "Hey," and he gave me a hug and he went, "Congratulations." I was like, "For what?" He went, "Surviving," which is a great Michael Madsen thing to say.
Yeah. So my segment for searching for John Cusack with you is I wanted to ask you in any of your films or even when you started doing plays or whatever, when you're acting with someone like have you and you don't have to say names, but have you ever acted with someone where like they were kind of bullyish towards you and you don't know why and how did you recap that for the character?
Oh, you mean like working with actors who are trying to like steal the scene and
Or
or
just trying to be
over
me,
competitive? Yeah.
yeah, or trying to be mean to you and belittle you in the scene or something like that, you know?
I'm trying to think, unfortunately, I saw it happen in a different way
Yeah.
where they would be nice to you because, since I was 17, you're doing leads in movies. So you're kind of the lead of the movie. So the actors, they're not going to try to pick on you or the directors won't. But I saw them pick on other people, especially women. I
Yeah.
saw a lot of directors be really mean to women and really fuck with their heads. And I didn't like that.
Yeah.
But I can't recall too many times when people went after me. But I really love working with actors and, respect them. There was a couple of times when there were a couple female actresses who were also very, they didn't want any other women to look better than them in the movie.
Right.
And so they would sort of, in a weird way, sabotage.
Each other. Yeah.
Well, or just try to mess with it, which is a really sad thing because if everybody's good, the movie, everybody's all boats rise.
Yeah.
You don't want to be the only good person in a movie because
Oh, for sure.
otherwise the movie sucks. But so no, I don't think I had too many bad experiences with actors. I had some crazy directors, really
Yeah.
crazy, that would just shoot forever and um, you know,
Do
like
you do you like that style when they shoot forever, or does it
no,
depend? Okay.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Like if you're because like you're doing, there's kind of DPs and directors who shoot afraid and they feel like if they can keep getting more coverage, then they can figure it out in the editing room. But I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't really be in seven places at once, right?
Right.
Like if we're having this conversation, you could cut to another angle aside of us. You could kind of throw an overhead of us, but it's sooner or later you're going to pick a frame and you just have to stay there and let the actors hold the camera.
Yeah.
So I don't like that thing where you just because also the directors go snowblind. They can't see
Yeah.
it, and the editing becomes a mess. So I like uh, people who are more precise. I like to work with people who are yeah. I mean, they don't
Well,
have to be Woody Allen or Clint Eastwood, but they can shoot coverage, but not like two double reverse masters. Three sizes going in. I don't. It's all bullshit.
would you say for you that you prefer to have a strong editor or a strong director? Because I feel like I was in a movie and I thought it was terrible, but the editor made the movie actually pretty good.
Well, the way I think of it is that you can win or lose a movie on all three stages of it: the writing of the script, the shooting of the film, and then the editing or cutting. And the more insecure the directors are or the producers are filming it, where they feel like they have to keep getting more coverage, the less likely the film can be edited well, I think. But a great editor can do wonders.
Oh yeah, definitely. This isn't a question I wrote, but have you ever thought of like maybe directing your own piece? Because I know you write and produce, but have
You
you
know,
ever wanted to?
I did. I directed War Inc. And I co-directed, a lot of the movies I wrote.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah. I mean, it's just you might not get the credit, but if you're setting up shots and doing, yeah.
We gotta get you the credit. We gotta make these changes. We gotta be like, also directed by John Cusack.
No, but it doesn't matter.
All right. And then I wanted to ask you about uh, can we talk about your book that's coming out? Like,
Sure.
yeah. I wanted to ask you like because you've had experience writing scripts and stuff like what I can't imagine writing a book. Like is that a different type of style and how many times did you have to like do it? I know this is the second book you've written, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the first one was I co-authored with a great writer, Arundhati Roy, and it was about taking Dan Ellsberg to go meet Ed Snowden in Russia. So it was a pretty cool experience. And then this one was just because it's hard you know, to get movies financed these days is very difficult,
Yeah.
especially, if you're outspoken, I guess, in certain ways. Um, so I wanted to tell these stories. So I thought if I make a graphic novel, it can live in that world, but, and it'll be the easiest way for people to see it as a movie.
Yeah.
And,
Definitely.
I never was, a huge graphic novel person. I knew some of the classic ones, but I just thought it's a new form. But I'll show you. I'll show you the.
Oh, that'd be great.
Here it is.
Oh yeah, that looks sweet.
Yeah, pretty cool.
I'm gonna be one of the first people to buy it when it comes out.
Yeah, and there's, so it's
Oh, nice.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'll send you a copy. You don't even have to buy it.
Oh, I want to support you though.
Well, yeah, I think you've been doing a pretty nice job of that
Oh my God.
already. I think I probably owe you money.
Oh no, no. I just want to be your best friend because I think you're the coolest guy in the world. But I have a funny story before I ask my final questions. Is so like when you got on Cameo, which thank God because I've been trying to tweet you forever, and like it was. So I made like I Twitter, and this is the dangers of social media. Sometimes when you post stuff. I was like, hey, book John Cusack and ask him to do my podcast. And I don't know how many cameos you got, but I got for Christmas like four of them. So I
I
just,
think, yeah, they asked me to. I just figured it was, if I go to I go to some of those Comic Cons and stuff, and I've been doing some screenings where, because I don't really look back too much. Like I haven't thought about some of those movies that you brought up for a long time because just my nature is always sort of looking forward, I guess.
yeah,
So, but I've been going back, and then we screen the movies, and then we take questions from the audience, and it's really nice to hear people that you made some positive impact in their life, and that, like, you made them think, or you made them happy, or even you just distracted them from their troubles. So uh, that's been like nice for me to hear. So I thought if anybody wants me to make them a video, I will, and so
it's great. It's the best. Like,
yeah, I like the direct contact with the people who like your work. Because in Hollywood, it's always like the strange middlemen people that sort of don't really, you know,
understand, right?
well, they're just sort of, they don't really like you, even though they tell you they love you. It's like all that Hollywood stuff.
Uh, I actually went to one of your concerts in Riverside, and
Did
I,
you?
yeah, I
And I didn't
met.
meet you?
No,
We
we
met.
met. We
That's
met.
right. Right. Okay, wait.
Yeah.
And
Eh,
you told me
I
about,
I
this was
told you about the
before,
podcast.
was this
Yeah.
before Annie did your show?
No, no. I interviewed Annie after, but
Okay.
like I said, you're my acting hero, so I've grown up watching you, and like I relate to you because like just your presence kind of like speaks to me in your films,
Mm.
But that's not the point. So like I saw you in Riverside and I tried to get the job to interview you because my dream has always been to interview you. So
Oh,
like
come. Oh, well, yeah, you can do one. Let's do
I
one. I'm going. Well, you're in California, so you're in LA, right? So next time
uh, I'm
next
in
time,
I could go to San Diego. I thought you were going to be in San Diego on the 23rd.
I think
So,
I am. Yeah, I think we're gonna go do a. I don't know what
oh,
movie we're showing,
say
but yeah,
anything. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, but you can come do it. You can do one of those interviews
Yeah, oh, definitely. Oh, cool.
anytime.
That would be great.
Yeah, and
I'm sure you
where do you do your stand up? Do you come to Chicago, or do you go all around the country, or just mostly in
I
LA?
I do. I do. Right now I tour with TJ Miller, but I could ask him to take me to Chicago. I know you're in Chicago, so
Yeah, yeah. And what do you do? And do you do like Chicago? You go is it to do Zanies or the
we do the improv.
Improv? Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. I think that would be so much fun. So I went to the Riverside one, and this lady was asking you a question. This is how like you have like I don't know I don't think you realize how funny you are because you got such you're so funny. So like this lady was like, John, in every single movie, you're on the telephone and you're talking to someone on the telephone, and I'm the biggest fan. And you're like, I don't think I do that in every single movie. And then she's like, in a kind of rudely way, she's like, No, 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 you do. I've seen all your movies, and you do. And then you calmly say, Did you ever see the Jack Bull? She's like, Yeah. And then you're like, It was a Western, and it got the biggest laugh in the whole theater. I was just like, oh my God.
Now I swear I miss the era of payphones. That was the payphones were a super cool thing. You know,
Yeah.
the pre cell phone, pre internet era was. There used to be all these lots of movies where people had these kind of phone call scenes.
Yeah.
There used to be like a whole style of like, how do you do phone calls and stuff. But yeah, I remember I have done a lot of things in the rain and probably a lot of cell phone, not a lot of pay phones and
Yeah. But it was just so funny because you were so quick, you know what I mean? And that's a stand-up comedy quality that you probably got just from theater or whatever, but like you're one of those guys who could do anything. Like if you wanted to do stand-up, you would be so good at it, you know?
I don't know. You guys are that's amazing. I think what you guys do. But I have a film that I want to do that I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'd have to do like an 80-page monologue. But
Yeah. Oh my
I
God.
don't know how you can memorize that.
Oh, that would be great.
But I
Uh,
don't know how to do it. But
I could
that's
I
what I
could
want
help
to do.
you.
How do you
Yeah.
do it? How do you like? Because you talk on stage for what, an hour straight? Like if you're doing a set, it's 20
If
minutes. But
yeah.
if you're headlining, how long do you do? 40 minutes? 30 minutes?
So like when I headlined to my special, Keith Reza Make It Happen. I don't know if that's me with the boombox.
Yeah, there you go.
So I just talk about being on the spectrum and, liking movies and, being a John Cusack fan and all that stuff. So it comes easy to me because it's like there's two little guys writing in my head and you're just reading as they're typing. You know what I mean? Like a new,
Wow.
yeah. So like that's how my mind works. And so like, remember
Does it come out? Does it come out different each night, or
oh,
is
for
it?
sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like I don't have a set where like I have to say it this exact same way every single show. It changes, you know what I mean? Kind of like different takes, but as long as the message is there, that's all that I care about, you know?
Yeah.
So I think you would be great at that because, it's just like that. You just got to think, okay, it's kind of like what you said, let the actors do the writing when we're filming because this is magic. That's all it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 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 So I'm gonna try to do that and try to figure out how to do it. But that'll be like a bit of a stand up thing.
That would be awesome. Can I be the opening act?
Um, no, but you can
Oh,
be. Well, I'll tell you how the story is. It's called Gone with the Mind. My friend Mark Lehner wrote this book,
yeah.
and it's really nuts. And it's kind of unadaptable, which is why I wanted to adapt it. And the story is that an author, he was like 57, like my age, 57, 58, and he's doing a book reading of his autobiography at a mall, and his mother is there to introduce him for the autobiography, but there's a flash flood, so there's no one in the mall except the Pizza Express worker and the Sbarro worker.
Yeah.
And it's just him and his mother in an empty mall. and his mother gives her introduction about the autobiography while refuting his autobiography. And
Oh
then
my god.
he then gives his introduction to his autobiography by refuting his mother's version of the autobiography and sliding into insanity. And so it's
Oh
basically
yeah.
they basically talk about the book without ever reading it to no one in a mall. So,
Oh my god.
but they have the Pizza Express workers, so they use them as an audience, and the Pizza Express workers just are on their phones ignoring them. So if you want to be the Pizza Express worker, you can be,
That would be great.
but you just have to ignore me the whole film.
I could do that.
Yeah, and then and at some point they just go, "We're not," they're like, "We're not here for the reading, asshole. We're just
Yeah.
working." Like they don't ever really acknowledge them.
Oh my god. That'd be great. So my two final questions for you, and these are kind of, I know you're a private guy, but this is kind of like a spiritual in a way. So I think these are okay questions to ask.
I'm pretty open.
Oh, okay. I wanted to ask you if I become, a huge star, what is one favor that I could do for you?
Well, you don't have to be a huge star to do me a favor.
Okay, well, like what is one thing that I could do to help you out? Because I like helping my friends out and we're friends now,
I think you could help me figure out how to memorize 80 pages
All right, I could do that.
because I've done like 25 pages. I've done like a 20-minute take in Chirac. I've done some crazy shit, but nothing like that. So I have to figure out how to. I got to talk to like memory people.
Yeah, we could do it. Actually, Anne told me this is like you write down every word what you're saying over and over again, and then you highlight it, and then you like try and memorize it, and
Yeah,
then
there's those techniques and like where you actually write the first letter of the word in a capital thing. So you have that. But then there's this other one called Memory Palace, which sounds so counterintuitive because for each line, you have to actually think of a geographic place. And I'm
yeah,
like, what? I can't even remember the lines. How am I going to remember the lines? And, my kitchen in Chicago.
yeah.
But I guess that's how they do it. Like that's how some of these guys do it. But so it'll be an interesting one. But I think that'll be one where it'll be the most like stand up.
Oh yeah, it would be great. I can't wait to see this. It's gonna be
Yeah,
great.
but anyway, as far as a favor, what can I can do? I'll do a favor for you. How about that?
You're doing this. I mean, we're
All
bonding,
right. Well, we'll do another interview anytime you want.
Oh, okay. That would be great. I'm gonna take you up on that. Like
I
I
know.
think
I know you will.
and then my last question for you because I've gone over on your time and I do
It's okay. We're
apologize.
good. We're good. We're good. I'm
Oh,
good.
okay. My last question for you is if you could go into a time machine like Hot Tub Time Machine and travel and talk to a younger version of yourself and knowing everything you know now, what would you tell yourself?
Yeah, it's hard to say because you know you only sort of learn from your mistakes and failure and stuff. Failure's like an important thing
Yeah.
to learn stuff. So, um, but I guess I would say if I was younger, I would say stay away from like drugs and alcohol. Um, check that because that's a pain in the ass if you get too into that,
Yeah.
and then it affects your work and stuff, and it's just another obstacle that you don't want to have to overcome if you don't have to. And then probably I would learn to let go of seeking perfection
Yeah.
because it doesn't really, like I don't think a lot of films are finished. They're just abandoned, like when you're too tired to work on them anymore. Like you can't look at them anymore.
And
But
you
it's
can
like,
always redo them too.
yeah, but you become sort of obsessed, and it's like
Yeah.
it's probably good to, you know, it's a blessing and a curse to be a perfectionist.
Yeah.
You can drive yourself a little crazy. Um, so I would probably sell myself to, you know, not take myself as seriously and not take every piece of work so seriously. Like your self worth depends on if it's good.
Yeah.
But that's how
Man,
it, that's how you sort of sometimes that's how it is. Like if you work on a film for a long time and then it sucks, I'm just like, well, that period of life doesn't even exist. That didn't even happen. And it's not a healthy way to look at things.
yeah. I'm so glad you said that and you didn't say like, oh, I'll be John Cusack for a second. John, this is John Cusack from 2025. How are you? Hey, if
How you doing?
doing good. Hey, if Keith Reza asks you to do his podcast, say yes immediately.
I would say that before. I would say if I was going to go back, it wouldn't have taken you what 4 years to get me on your podcast.
12 years.
Well, 4 years since I was well, since I
Yeah, since
knew
since you knew me. Yeah, yeah.
something like that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I
So
was
yes,
like,
I would. That was a mistake.
ah. But this was such a dream come true. I had one more thing I wanted to tell you. I think this
Sure,
would be
sure.
great. Like let's pit
When are your next stand up things so I can see them?
tonight I'm in San Diego with TJ and I'll just let you I'll email you and let you know when I'm in your neck of the woods and you
And
know
do you have video feeds of those? Do you have like do
yeah,
you have
yeah, I have a special. I'll send you my special.
Yeah, send it to me.
Okay, yeah. So there's this movie called Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage, right? Did you ever see it?
I didn't see it, but I remember when it came out.
Okay. So I'm thinking, now just roll with me on this. We could write a sequel, but Massive Talent with John Cusack, and it could be totally awesome.
I guess it could. I loved doing being John Malkovich, just because I knew John Malkovich,
Yeah.
and he's like secretly the funniest person on earth.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, he's like secretly the funniest person you'll ever meet. And like so he called me up. I was going to do the movie and um, already going to do the movie, and he called me up and was like, Johnny, this movie is like really good, and it's really mean, and it's mean about me, but fuck it, I am an asshole. And I was like, John, are you trying to convince me to do the movie? I'm in. I'm
Yeah.
already in. And we had so much fun making it, and he was so funny. So
Yeah, so it'd be great. You know what I mean? I'm gonna start writing it today, and then we're gonna like next year. I'm gonna be like, John, here's the first draft. Let's do it. It's gonna be great. Yeah.
and what am I? But I don't know if I'll be able to play myself.
No, you can. But you gotta watch Massive Talent first because what it is, it's about a fanboy like me who like hires Nicolas Cage to hang out with him at his wedding, and they just talk about all his movies, and then like the mob gets involved.
Oh yeah, right, 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 right.
So we could do that, and
I did a one movie that was really weird. It's called We're No Animals, and I played a version of me.
you wrote that too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We
Uh,
sort of improvised that one.
yeah. Oh my God, that's so great. Well,
Yeah.
John,
Well, you never know. We'll see. We'll see if it's if there's if I can play myself.
oh, it would be great. Yeah. So where can the folks follow and support you? Instagram, Twitter, Cameo, like
I'm not really. I used to be on Twitter, but then since Musk took it over, like he sort of shadow bans you if you
yeah,
don't
he
like.
made Twitter not fun anymore.
No, and you have to like sort of bend the knee to like him, or you don't get the stuff. So I'm not really. I don't really have too much. I mean, I'm on Blue Sky, and um, but I don't really get on social media much.
All right. So they support you by going to your Cameo and getting a video, right?
Or just I I might try Substack. I don't
Oh,
know.
that.
I don't know much about it, but it seems like that might be a place where you could. I liked when Twitter was live because if you put something out and you could get 4 million people read it, that was nice to be able to have a direct access to people,
Yeah.
to talk about whatever you wanted to talk about, or if you wanted to.
Yeah.
But now it's I don't know where to go with the social media, but I guess I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, and what else? I think that's it.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I would love to get followed by you. That'd be cool.
All
And
right,
then
where
you
are you on Twitter, or which one
Twitter
are you
and
on?
Instagram. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
don't look at Instagram because I'm afraid that if you look at that too much, your brain melts, I think.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, Twitter
Yeah.
would be great. You know,
All
whatever.
right, I'll
As
follow
long
you
as
on
I
Twitter.
could brag and be like John Cusack follows me.
All right, you got it, brother.
All right, John. Well, hey, thank you so much. This was a dream come true,
Oh, thank
and
you, man.
I am gonna take you up on that interviewing you when you're in California thing. Like,
Let's do it.
do you have an opener for this Friday?
I can check. So
Okay,
I'll check and see if we have somebody to interview me on in San Diego, and if we don't have somebody and you're around, you can come do it.
I'm in. I'm there.
All right,
All right.
brother.
All right. Thank you so much, John, and hopefully I'll see you next Friday.
Yeah.
All right. Have a
All
great
right.
day.
You two have a great show tonight, and thanks for asking me to do it. I'm glad we did this.
Oh, thank you. This was a dream come true. Like, thank you so much.
All right, brother. Bye.
All right. Bye, John. All right, guys, that was the episode. Subscribe, rate, review, and follow us on Reza Rifts and support John Cusack. We'll see you guys next time on Reza Rifts.